Islam. We are the puritanical Islamists. The foreigners have invaded our country. We protect our country. And in the meantime, we will pay by the end of the month $50. Join us. So he went as well, and he joined. That shows that the bulk of the fighting force of this terrorist group, they are not there for ideological reasons. They are there for economic reasons, like Abdi, I'm telling you now. They are there for a revenge reason, because major clan has pushed away from their territory, or has looted their property, or has killed their own kinsman, so they are angry, they want to take revenge, and they say, we'll give you that opportunity, come and join us. So these boys, they went there. Why I'm telling this story, 70% of the population in Somalia today are youth. So you can understand the magnitude of the challenge that we have in Somalia, when 70% of the people are young boys and girls of that age cohort, which never went to school, many of them. This is the Somalia that I was elected as a president in 2012. With the state coffers having less than $60 million, what can you do now? However, because it was me who opted to come and compete and ask the Somali people to give me the opportunity to lead the country. So knowing all this background, because I never went outside Somalia throughout, I was there. I was there as a teacher before the state collapsed, and after the state collapse, I was there as a researcher, I was there as a civil society activist, and I was there as, again, the same education officer for the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, for good time, and traveling all over Somalia and see the people. The scenario I was explaining now, a lot of it was there everywhere in Somalia. So with knowing all this, I again decided to go and try to fix this problem. And the problem basically is the problem of lack of state, lack of functioning state institutions, institutions that are neutral, institutions that equally serve all the Somali people, not a particular group or particular area, but all. And above all, the challenge is how can we make the people convince, believe, accept that this is yours, your state. How can you make convincing an old mother who is there, or a grandmother, who knows that Ali, Muhammad, whatever, who was the militia of yesterday, today is the policeman who is protecting you. This is the reality in place. From there, we started in a place where the needs are, the list of the needs too long. And all these too long items in that list, all of them are priority. If you ask the people what's your priority, everybody will tell you something. I need security, I need clean water, I need economic empowerment, I need education, I need health, I need, everything is priority in that context. And everything is short term, we need it now. Not to plan and say, we will have this after 10 years. But people say, we need it now. The state revenue, as I said, was less than $60 million, and there are more than 100 clans or tribes who are competing, each of them, to get the presidency by themselves. Because of much of the country thinks that half or more than half of our country has been taken away by our neighbors, Ethiopia. So this is another story completely, starting from the beginning of the 19th century. The history, if you read the scramble to Africa, the partition of Africa in Berlin Conference in 1884, where Africa has been divided into zones of influence. Somalia was unfortunate, it has been divided under the influence of different colonial powers. So some of them later on got independence, some of them, the colonial powers, annexed to our neighboring country, in Kenya, in Ethiopia, in Djibouti. So all these countries we have a large community of Somalis. Some statistics indicate that the Somali ethnics living inside Somalia and the Somali ethnics living outside Somalia, the outside Somalis are more than the Somalis living in the Republic. So people believe that their country has been, some of the people believe strongly as a nationalists, their country has been taken by their neighbor. You have no federal institution. The country has agreed to be a federal member and there is no federal member states existing. That's why I'm telling that the territory is not controlled by any governance system. The legal code that we have is written in Italian language or in Arabic language. Both are not Somali language. Most of the young people, the generation I was describing, are there who never went to school and who cannot read and write and who doesn't know what life is. But in every place, it's very easy to aim and shoot a gun. Very simple. You may get the target, you may not, but carrying a gun and shooting people is the easiest thing that does not need much training, like mechanics or electrician or carpenter. Most of the country is controlled by this terrorist group, is well weaponized, an army. The international community finally has funds spent in Somalia, but they don't want to actually come to Somalia. There's a lot of international organizations that are there to support Somalia, but they are not there in Somalia. They are in Nairobi, Kenya, a 3-hour flight to Mogadishu. Those of them who come, they are inside a perimeter controlled by the African Union mission. Big fence, green area, they stay in that green area, which they do not go. A green area where if Somali wants to go in, he has to get a permission. He cannot go. So there another small mini country inside the country. Under this situation and the expectation of millions of people, by hearing that the transition is ended and permanent government has been established, they raise up and expect miracles to happen. All these histories and issues that I discussed may be like some sort of fictional history, but that was the reality when I came into the office in 2012. Now, as a society in a post-conflict environment, there are two common phenomena for post-conflict environment or where there is a state collapse. Number one is people do not agree with the history. What happened yesterday, we do not have in Somalia or in Iraq or in Afghanistan or in other places that went through state collapse and civil war. Yesterday, it's very difficult to agree. The hero of yesterday is someone's terror, someone's terrorist. So now, and then to move forward, you have to agree the mistakes that happened yesterday. So how complex is that reconciliation is taking place? Then people claim that reconciliation, and then reconciliation itself is not easy because reconciliation needs authority to implement it. Unless in a post-conflict environment, someone who killed someone else, when you are here in London, what do we call that person? A murderer, someone who killed an innocent person. But in a post-conflict environment where it's a clan or tribe or ethnicity or whatever exists there, someone who kills someone is not a someone, but he is clan X who killed clan Y, or tribe X who killed tribe Y, and then the whole thing goes virally, and another innocent people will be killed some place which is very far away. Why? Because there is no rule of law. When there is a rule of law, someone who kills someone is a murderer and he is taken to the court of law and is punished by himself only. And that is, if that is not there, In my time, there was a time when two clans, they fought each other for a distance of 400 kilometers that they were living together. Each clan moved back. That 400 kilometers, it became no man's land. No livestock grazes there, no farms are cultivated there, so it became a jungle. After the agreement, people get together, they come back, they started grazing, farming, taking their livestock to water wells. One morning, a young boy who believes that his father was killed by that man came to the place and he killed the man. And immediately everything fell apart and he went back to fighting again and again. Until again, new intervention. But if there is a police, there is a court, there are courts, then that cannot happen. So even the reconciliation itself, it needs two important things. One is reconciliation is not an event. It is a process. It takes a long time to heal the wounds of the past, to make the people smooth on the lingering memory of what has happened in the past. So it's a process that goes on, a process that everybody has to participate. The religious people, the traditional elders, the young people, all of them, to be engaged on that process. And you know, when process takes a long time, there are chances are there, external factors interfere here and there, unexpected things happen here and there. So it's a very delicate process, the reconciliation to go. But when there is authority that protects the process from any other external forces that try to move it here and there, it's very, so it has to be a process, long term, continuous work, not an event that we get together and we stay together for 1 week and then we leave and then we say, oh, everything is done, we reconcile, we agree. No, it's not like that. It goes from hugging each other, it starts from hugging each other till you establish the real institutions that is necessary for the reconciliation. And the number two, the second prerequisite is to have an authority. What the traditional elders does not want or is not happy. If they say stop, they will stop. It's authority. If there is no authority, then everybody does what it seems to be the right thing. So reconciliation was an effort. We have been doing reconciliation since early 90s when the Civil War started, but most of our reconciliation in Somalia was basically, it was a political reconciliation, focus was to build a state, but it was not social reconciliation. Social reconciliation and political reconciliation is to do. You may have political reconciliation, you may accept me, I may accept you politically, but socially, the large population, because the politicians are very limited in number, but the whole society's case is different to accept. So now we put in place, in that world where everything is priority, we put a framework, what we call it the 6-pillar policy framework, which is priority based. What are the most important priority areas to start in the long journey of the state building? So we developed what we call it the pillars. The pillars are, each pillar has a responsibility. What is the priority? Security, public finance, security, then justice system, public finance and reconciliation, international relations, you name it, fixing the federation, you name it. So every pillar has it. So we started on the basis of this. Since 1990, when the state collapsed, it was only 2012 that we started the government to have a budget, however small it is. But the legal procedures of budget proposal taken to the parliament, endorsed by the parliament, the government uses the budget, and at the end of the day, they make the accounts, take it back to the parliament, and parliament endorses so that the next budget comes. That was the first time after 22 years a budget was made in Somalia. And until today, every year we have a budget. And from less than 60 million, now the latest budget is almost 300 million. Still it's too small, but you know, in 4 years' time, from 60 million to 300 million is a big step. And then we try to do that, we try to fix the public finance institutions. A central bank with no SWIFT code, with no electronic transfer, with no cross-borders, international cross-borders banks anywhere. We started with that. We fixed the central bank, recruited new people, and asked some expertise from the outside world which we get. Then the Office of the Accountant General, then the Office of the Auditor General, and the Minister of Finance. We came to a place where almost more than 20 ministries were housed in one place, one building. One building, and maybe a ministry's office is one room with 3-4 desks and 4-5 chairs. From there, now, what can be done? Minister of Education, what can they do with 4 or 5 people? So we started from there. The whole civil servant of the government was less than 1,000 people, and we left the office. There was 6,000 civil servant people there. There was no public education at all throughout the country. We started a project called Go to School, with a long-term plan of 3 million students to go back to school. We left where 250,000 students were going to school. In Somalia, there are a lot of schools, there are a lot of universities, but all of them are private. Only those parents who can afford to pay $10 by the end of the month can send their kids to school. Those who cannot, which is the bulk of the population, they don't send their kids to school. Kids are playing in the street as a young one. But that kids playing in the street are time bomb for the country. They're waiting when they come to the age of 20, what they will do. The same description I was giving you to Ali al-Abdi, they will have. They don't know how to live. And then, lack of employment, unemployment was so high. But the question is, the young generation that were existing there, are they employable? Do they have skills to work even if you offer an employment, which was not there? So the whole thing, the whole place was such a complex situation, but the dilemma was where to start. That is where the title, that good title has been given, starting building a state out of the sand. So we put that framework in place, and we started to work on the federation. We started to make the security as a priority. First of all, we have to fight with the territory that's ungoverned, the territory that breeds the terrorists. We have to focus on the governance, building a governance system in the country. And constitutionally, the Somali people has agreed Somalia to become a federal country. So federal member states has to be organized and has to be in every way that we can. We started with that, and we built 5 new federal member states. There was only two federal member states where one claims that they secede from Somalia, they are not part of Somalia. And there was another one who claims that, yes, we are part of Somalia. So we established another 4, so that all over the country, all over Somalia, there is someone who is responsible that part of Somalia. Yes, that someone has a capacity limitation. Yes, that someone does not control fully the whole area. Yes, that someone has no the legitimate coercion or the enforcement of the law, but there is someone who is responsible for that territory, elected by the people of that territory, and he has to work and do the work to control the territory. And gradually, that's how the governance system expands from the capital city to all the way to different corners of Somalia. Still, there are territories controlled by the terrorists, mainly in the remote rural areas. Most of the cities and towns are under the control of the government. But still, the authorities are a very serious challenge to the state building program in Somalia. We have revitalized the economy. We started exporting the livestock. We started exporting agricultural products like banana, like other products throughout the world. So Somalia, again, we started recovering the economy. And Somalia, for the last 5-6 years, has been the GDP was growing according to the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. The economy of Somalia was growing from 1.7 to 3.7 gradually. So things were starting again in life. Now, this is the country where no country in the world that has got experienced state collapse or civil war has come back by its own without any support. Almost every country that went into a state collapse was supported by the international community as a multilateral or as a bilateral. When Sierra Leone was problem, the United Kingdom was leading the recovery of Sierra Leone, security, and then later on the state building and all this. When Cambodia was in a difficult situation, France was there, in many other parts, the United Nations. So Somalia is not exceptional, but it was unique because it's the longest state collapse that exists in history. So it's unique. So the international community was there. And they tried to fix the Somali problem as early 1992, 93, after 2 years, 3 years of collapse. But that was a missing opportunity. We Somalis, we didn't benefit that opportunity. We missed that. There's a couple of other missed opportunities that happened because the energy of the civil war, still there are a lot of people who were enthusiastic to fight. But today it's not there. Today we have only this terrorist group, the normal, ordinary Somali clans, sub-clans, society in large, they don't want to fight in a civil war. So the international community was engaged mainly in the humanitarian sector, providing the humanitarian support and supplies to different parts of Somalia by using the international NGOs, local NGOs. In 2013, we asked the international community to change that approach. Somalia needs reconstruction. Somalia needs very serious engagement of state building, state institutions, economic recovery, social, we need this thing. And then there was an international conference in Brussels organized by the European Union, and a $3 billion was pledged. $3 billion was pledged for Somalia as a reconstruction fund, not humanitarian, and it was all a grant, not a loan or anything, because Somalia cannot take loan because of the problems that they went through for a long time. Now, this was very clear. We have an agreement with the international partners that this money and funds is for reconstruction of the country and the development, not humanitarian. The humanitarian will continue as it was. What we agreed is that that fund should be gradually put into the government system so that the government improves the social service delivery to the people. That is what has been agreed. But in reality, it didn't happen like that. In reality, it didn't happen like that. That money never went into the government system. That money, first of all, it was pledged. It never came as the amount that was pledged. And that was not unique for Somalia.